Good morning. Today is Sunday, the 19th day of Menachem Av. Today we start the 6th letter of the Igeret HaKodesh. Last week, almost the whole week we spent on the 5th letter, was a very long one. And the 6th letter also talks about the aspect of tzedakah. Many of these letters talk about tzedakah. You know, Alter Rebbe explains how tzedakah is such an important thing, especially in the time as we get closer to Mashiach. The Rebbe always, every Sunday, used to come give dollars to people and train people to give tzedakah. And the concept of tzedakah, like it is today, was never like that. The Rebbe encouraged people to put pushkas, tzedakah boxes in the homes, in the businesses, to put every day a few pennies, because the act of giving the tzedakah every day is important. So here in this letter, the 6th letter, also the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about the tzedakah from a different aspect, as we shall soon see. So let's share inside. There you go. Okay. Siman Vav, Epistle 6. The Rebbe begins with a verse that it says, Zeireya tzedakah schar emes, secher emes. That's the way it is written. Zeireya tzedakah secher emes. It's a verse in Mishle, in Proverbs, that says, he who sows tzedakah has a reward of truth. The word secha means like a dam that holds the water to catch the fish. So the way Rashi explains it is that when you give tzedakah, it is a certain thing, something which is certain, just like to catch the fish. And when you put the dam that catches the water, catches the fish, is a certain thing that a fish is catch. The same thing is also the secher emes. It is absolutely true that you're getting the reward. And other commentators referred this verse, explain this verse as secher from the word schar, which means reward. And that means that the word of truth. Now, what does it mean when we're saying that you have the reward of truth? The simple understanding that the reward of truth, it means that the reward will be absolutely coming to you. It is true, it is absolutely true that the reward is coming to you. However, here the Alter Rebbe explains it a little different, and it says, Pirush, the meaning of this verse is, Sheschar zriyas tzedakah, hi midas ha'emes. This means that the attribute of truth is the God-given reward for sowing tzedakah. The reward for giving tzedakah, for sowing tzedakah, as we'll explain later what it means, is the reward is truth. You get truth. And Alter Rebbe brings a verse that says, Ksiv, it says, Titein emes leYaakov. It is also written, you give truth unto Jacob. What does it mean, give truth unto Jacob? Says the Alter Rebbe, Veshivcha de kuchabrichu mesader novi. The prophet, it's not a prayer asking give truth to Yaakov, it is praising Hashem, saying you give truth to Yaakov. He's praising Hashem. The prophet Micha speaks the praise of the Holy One, blessed be He, as it is written in the Holy Zohar. The Holy Zohar writes that this is praise to Hashem for giving the truth to Yaakov. What does that mean? Pirush HaKadosh Baruch Hu anoisei midas emes leYaakov. which means that Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, who gives the attribute of you of truth unto Yaakov. And this, the Alter Rebbe says, we need to understand. We need to understand this. V'chi ein emes liYaakov, chas v'sholom. Is there no truth to Yaakov? God forbid. Ad she'HaKodesh Baruch Hu yiten lo milemala. Until Hashem gives him truth, doesn't Yaakov have truth? Achine, says the Alter Rebbe, midas zois, the midas Yaakov, he midas rachmanos. So basically, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain what it means giving truth to Yaakov. We're talking about the concept of Yaakov. And the concept of Yaakov receives the truth. What is the concept of Yaakov? So he's going to explain. We know Abraham is the concept of chesed. Chesed is kindness. Kindness gives. Kindness is all about the person, the giver. The kindness of chesed does not take in consideration at all the recipient. Chesed is just giving. It doesn't matter if the person deserves it, doesn't deserve it, just giving. Yitzchak is, on the other hand, is the level of gevura. Gevura is restriction, judgment. Gevura is about only the recipient, judging and seeing if the recipient is one who deserves to receive. Now, Yaakov is Tiferet. Yaakov is the level of Tiferet. Tiferet is connected with Rachmanus, compassion. Now, compassion has both. You have the giver and the recipient. In other words, you do judge the recipient. You do appreciate what the recipient is worth. Is he worthy to receive or not? But in the same time, you say, even though he's not worthy, but the midah of Rachmanus gives even to the recipient. So it's not like chesed. Chesed gives without any calculations. But Rachmanus is an understanding that nevertheless, from a deeper point within you, you're able to give even though the person does not deserve. So this concept of Rachmanus is what Yaakov is all about. This is what represented by Yaakov. Now, the idea of Rachmanus, the idea of compassion is true on many different levels. It is true on the level of giving charity, of giving tzedakah. It is also true on the level of service of Hashem. You're serving God, you can also serve God with the level of chesed, with the level of gevura, and with the level of Rachmanus, which is Tiferes. And that's what Alter Rebbe is going to explain. However, it is well known that the attribute of Yaakov is the attribute of compassion. And the service of God through compassion. What does that mean, serving God through compassion? He says, it comes from the arousal in man's heart, a profound compassion for the divine spark which is in his soul. There is a divine spark, a neshama, a nitzutz of the neshama, the nefesh elokit that is in our soul, and that spark is a big rachmanus. What does it mean, a big rachmanus? He says, which is far a distance from the light of God, God's countenance. When the man goes about in the darkness of the vanities of the world. In other words, the compassion is when the person, you have to think about what a pity. Sometimes people go about their lives, they go joining, enjoying things. They don't realize how where they are is a really terrible, terrible place. They don't realize that. So in order to awaken them to realize that the terrible place that they are, you have to first show them the light. They have to appreciate what is the light. When they appreciate what is the light, then they realize how low and what a terrible place they are. So here it says, in order to awaken the compassion for the neshama, that the neshama is in the darkness of this world, we have to give the neshama an understanding and what the greatness of Hashem. When you understand and you appreciate the greatness of Hashem, all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, I'm in the wrong place. My neshama is trapped and captured in such a low place. This is what Alter Rebbe continues to say, the arousal of the compassion itself derives from the man's understanding and deep cognition of the greatness of Hashem. And what is it? He reflects upon how even the most infinitely sublime worlds, the higher worlds, are considered as truly not before him. There's nothing worth before Hashem. The higher worlds, the spiritual worlds. Why? Because all their God-given bounty and vitality, it all is derived only from a gleam of reflection from a single letter of his name. As we learned in the previous chapter, Kemaimar, as it says, Beyud Nivra Olam Haba Chulu. The Yud is the source and that created, brought about the Olam Haba, the world to come. And this, now in this radiation and reflection that comes from this letter, which is an extension of the life-giving energy that flows from God's blessed name, to animate the higher and the lower beings. Now in this reflection, there is a distinction between and a difference between the higher and the lower beings. That this world was created by the letter Hey, and so on. The higher world was created by the letter Yud, as we explained in the previous chapter, how the Hey is more the external part of the light of Hashem, and the Yud is the intellect of Hashem, and so on. So all of this is only in the reflection of the light. Also, the variety of details within each world. This is determined by the differences and the combination of the letters, that they're created from the letters, and the combination of these letters, each combination creates a different being. The same thing also, the distinction between the time, the past, present, and future, and all the variety of events throughout that are the changing times. In other words, when time changes, it changes everything else. So all those things that are affected by these changes, and the changes of time and changes of energy, all these two are determined by the differences in the combination of the letters. The time itself is also a result of the different energy that comes from Hashem. Like the Alter Rebbe once, when he was in prison, he was there for 53 days, and the interrogators tried to intimidate him. So at one point, they told him, why don't you go to sleep? It's late already.
He told them.
They told him. And so he said to them, he told them exactly what time it is. That was like the middle of the day. Told them exactly what time it was. And they were very shocked how he knew the time. And he explained that every hour there is a different combination of different letters of the name of Hashem. And based on this, he was able to determine what time it was. So the time itself is also comes from the energy, the different energy that comes from the different letters of Hashem. For these combinations of letters are the conduit of the life force that proceeds from the attribute of Hashem, blessed be His name. As it is explained in Likutei Amorim, part 2, this is the Sha'ar Yichud Ve'emunah that we learned in the chapter 11. So all of this is referring the light, the reflection of the light of Hashem that draws down from Hashem. But when we're talking about the blessed being and the essence of Hashem, it is written, Ani Hashem lo yishanisi. I, God, have not changed. Neither a term of change in the progression from the supreme, from the uppermost of levels, to the nethermost, from the top to the bottom. That just as he is present in the higher world, so is he present in precisely the same measure in the nether world, in the lower world. As it is explained in Likutei Amorim, the first part of the Tanya, chapter 51. And the same thing, in other words, by Hashem, there is no difference. It's the same Hashem before the world is created, the same Hashem after. Nor in the terms of temporal changes, in time changes, also doesn't affect him. Nor is there any difference between, from God's perspective, is no different in time. There's no difference between yesterday and tomorrow. Just like he was alone, one and unique. Before the 6 days of creation, so too he is exact same now after the creation. And this is so because because everything is absolutely as nothing and naught, in relation to his being and essence. And to use an analogy that the Alter Rebbe used in the first part of the Tanya, he says, just like one letter of a person's speech, when you speak one letter, or a letter that you think, compare one letter to the potential of words that you can speak, that letter has no value whatsoever. And this is only an example just to make us a little bit understanding. Obviously, it's not the same because Hashem is even greater than that. It says, Al derech mashal, metaphorically speaking, to appease the ear, to give us a little bit of an understanding. But the truth is, while in fact, it is written that there is no comparison unto you. You cannot compare it or anything to Hashem. It says elsewhere, as it says in the second part of the Tanya, chapter 9, and you should look there. And this is what we say, we say every morning by davening. We say the king who is exalted alone from aforetime, from ever. Pirush, which means, just like then, from aforetime. Before the creation, he was alone. There was nothing existed before outside of him. The same thing, he is now also exalted, and is elevated beyond the days of the world. Pirush, which means, this means that he is exalted and elevated, transcending the dimensions of time, and Nikra b'shem Yemais Olam, which is known as the days of the world. Vehainu, and this is so because lefi shechayus kol Yemais Olam urak mibchinas hamelech. Because it says the days, the life force of all the days of the world is derived solely from the spiritual level known as the king. The king is Malchus. Malchus is the lowest level that is already connected with the next world. And only there, this is the source where it can have, coming from it, the differences between higher and lower and so on. Where Shekosu Mokemach has explained elsewhere. So all of this, that says the Alter Rebbe, now, the more you think about this, about the greatness of Hashem, how everything, even the higher world, is nothing compared to Hashem. When you think about this and you think about the neshama, now you would feel bad for the neshama. How the neshama comes from such a high, lofty place into such a physical, limited, dark, low world. Says it follows, therefore, that there is Rachmanus Gedoyle Me'oid Me'oid. It is extremely great cause to feel compassion. Compassion for the spark that dwells in a dark and gloomy body. Mashcha dechivye. It is called the snake skin, the skin of the snake. Ha'olul lekabel tuma. That is capable, liable to contract impurity, and to become defiled by the various lusts. May God protect us. So this is the big Rachmanas. If not for God serving the man as a shield. And he's giving the strength and might to wage war with the body and its passion, and to triumph over them, to win these desires, this lust, this compassion. And this is the meaning of the continuation of the prayer that we started before. It says, Master of our strength, shield of our salvation. That this is that only Hashem enables us to overcome this challenge that the neshama has, being in such a low body. So this, he says, this is the midas, the way of serving Hashem with the midah of Yaakov. The Yaakov is the Tiferes, is the Rachmanus. And when you arouse the Rachmanus, this brings about to serve Hashem with this level of Rachmanus. And as the Alter Rebbe will continue tomorrow, how this means the Titan Emes, to giving the truth to Yaakov. So this is the end of today's shir. If you have any questions, you can ask the question now. Please join us. You can join us live every morning. You look down, you have the link for the Zoom link for every morning, 9 o'clock. and please share with others. All the best and have a wonderful day.